Let's say you have a couple of woofers and you want to build a bass reflex enclosure. What are the steps in designing this speaker box? Well, first of all, you start your modeling software, and in this case we have WinISD. And since this is just an example, let's select a fancy woofer. We have this Morel Ultimate subwoofer. And the first question that pops up is how many drivers do you have? And in our case, we have two. And another question concerning the placement. We have normal, yes, nothing out of the ordinary. But then we have the second option, which is this word over here, isobaric, with a K at the end. And look at this, speakers facing one another. I don't know, this looks like something only the Japanese can make. But really, is this isobaric design that difficult? I like to explain things as easily as possible, get the straight facts in front and leave the details behind. And it seems people understand things better this way. So let me give it a try. Let's say you have a speaker in a sealed box, which has a volume of 100 liters, and this will result in some frequency response. If you place two of those speakers in isobaric configuration, but now in a 50-liter sealed box, it will have the same frequency response. That will be the short version, but let's get into some details. So isobaric, what does it mean? Well, we have iso, which means equal, and baric, which means pressure. And it refers to the chamber between the speakers. As one speaker moves into one direction, the other speaker moves in the same direction and maintains a constant pressure in that chamber. They can be placed in various configurations, but most popular is cone-to-cone push-pull design, also called clamshell, and magnet-to-cone. That pocket of air between the speakers also couples the speakers together. So effectively, we have one single speaker with different characteristics. We can now see that the moving mass has doubled, as we have to add the moving mass of both speakers. Compliance is halved since we need to add the suspension characteristics of both speakers, which makes for a twice as rigid speaker, therefore half the compliance. But anyway, let me spare you the math and give you the important facts. Resonant frequency stays the same, QTS stays the same, and VAS is halved. This is why the enclosure can now be twice as small. Also, if you wire the speakers in parallel, they get the same amount of power in normal conditions. And since people like to debate impedances and power, let me give you an explanation in XSIM. So we have this amplifier, and let's tune it so it outputs 100 watts at 8 ohms. And let's say we have one speaker. Imagine that this resistor is a speaker, and we are going to wire it directly to the amplifier. And let's set this speaker to 8 ohms. So we have an 8 ohm speaker wired to this amp, and if we add a graph, and let's scale this correctly, we can see it receives 100 watts. So if we take another speaker and wire it in a parallel, the same impedance, 8 ohms, we can see that both of them get 100 watts. So those curves are stacked to one another. So each speaker gets the same amount of power. If you want to wire these speakers in a series, so let's wire them in series. We can see that we have a significant loss in power. They only receive 25 watts. As long as you have an amplifier that can handle half the load of a single speaker, and it's not some weird digital amp that doesn't increase power as load decreases, you should be good. Another thing that might seem obvious, only the exterior speaker is radiating sound. So basically the internal one is just to make the VAS in half. So what is the conclusion? Basically you have two speakers in Isobaric, which are wired in parallel, and they transform into a single speaker with most of the parameters, most of the important parameters the same, except for VAS, which is halved. And that gives us the opportunity to make an enclosure twice as small with the same result. Now, I want to take this a bit further because I have two ScanSpeak woofers lying around. So let's make some isobaric enclosures. But first of all, I want to make sure that both of the speakers are in the same working condition. So we are going to burn them in for several hours. Then we are going to measure them up and see if they measure not far from one another. And it seems that they have the numbers almost identical. ScanSpeak takes stuff seriously, it seems. So here is what we'll do. We are going to make 4 different sealed boxes, one 50-liter sealed box with one woofer. The rest of the boxes will be 25 liters with 2 speakers in isobaric. One with the speakers in clamshell configuration, the rest with cone to magnet. One will have the isobaric chamber as small as possible, with the chamber protruding out the baffle, and the last one being the same cone to magnet, but with the isobaric chamber still as small as possible, but the same size as the baffle, so it looks like a normal enclosure. We are going to measure the frequency response of each box, and we are going to compare them side by side. In theory, they should match one another. And we are also going to measure the impedance, so we can check the resonant frequency of each box, so we can check if they match. WinISD predicts a resonant frequency of 51.75 Hz. Here are some highlights of the build, so you know what I'm talking about. So this is the response of the initial 50-liter box, and the response of the other boxes should match with this one. So let's take the clamshell design first, and we can see that this one has an early roll-off compared to the 50-liter box, and I don't have a reasonable explanation for this, except for the fact that this might be a measurement error, since I cannot place the microphone in the center of the cone as I did for all the other boxes, because the magnet is sticking out, and it's basically impossible to get the microphone into a good position. This might be an explanation. However, if I tick the other two isobaric boxes with the cone to magnet position, we can see that they overlap nicely with the 50-liter box response. And it's quite pleasing to get the result you are after. And if we look at the impedance response, the peak in impedance matches with the resonant frequency of the box. WinISD told us it would be 51.75 Hz, and we got 49.12 Hz for the single speaker sealed box. We have 51.48 Hz for the clamshell. We have 50.47 Hz for the isobaric with the small chamber. And finally, we have 48.45 Hz for the isobaric with the larger flush chamber. I guess they look pretty much within margin of error, and I guess it's kind of suspicious that the resonant frequency keeps dropping as the isobaric chamber gets larger. So you might be asking yourself, how large can this isobaric chamber get? Well, basically it needs to be as small as possible, but for a reason that you probably won't suspect. So as this isobaric chamber gets larger and larger, it gets really close to the initial enclosure, the 50-liter enclosure with one single speaker. So basically you pay for an additional speaker with no added benefit. Take a look at the last isobaric enclosure compared to the sealed 50-liter box. Even though it has the smallest chamber possible, so that the cone of the interior speaker doesn't touch the magnet of the exterior speaker at max excursion, it's still just a tad bit smaller, and I don't think that justifies buying another speaker. In the clamshell design, the enclosure size is clearly smaller and the added benefit is obvious. So, my opinion is that the isobaric clamshell design should be used in maybe 4th order and 6th order bandpass boxes, because the clamshell is hidden inside the box, and since these types of boxes are already large, the fact that you can make them smaller is a pretty good bonus. So that wraps it up. I hope I was very clear about the isobaric configuration. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave in the comments if you have an interesting idea for a project that I should make. Peace.